Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to tonight's City Council meeting and Committee of the Whole meeting. We'll begin with our City Council meeting, and we begin all our City Council's meetings with a Pledge of Allegiance. And I would like to ask a dear friend of mine, but first I'm going to take a roll call. Got that, John?
Yes.
Roll call, Mr. Clerk. My apologies. So worked up.
Mike Bruno.
Here.
Tara Burkhart.
Here.
Mike Clements.
Here.
Becky Ruby.
Here.
Gabe Caven.
Here.
Dean Kilberg.
Here.
Craig Malaja.
Here.
Richard Marks.
Here.
Gene McGowan.
Here.
Robert Swanson.
Here.
My apologies, folks, for the hiccup. Seated in the front row is a distinguished gentleman who is a Korean War veteran from 1952 to 1954. And he is also our dear friend's Art Kendall's brother, Mr. John Kendall. Mr. Kendall, would you do us the honors of leading us in the pledge?
I'd be honored to.
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Kendall, just a moment, if I may. I hope you know how sorry we are for the loss of your brother.
I appreciate that.
And Alderman Kilberg, who chaired last week's meeting, began the meeting with some very eloquent and elegant words regarding your brother's service to this community.
Thank you.
And he also led the council in a moment of silence as well. So we want you and, of course, Art's friends and family to know that we are sorry for your loss.
Well, thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Mayor.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, item 3A is a public hearing on ordinance number 2019-09, an ordinance vacating a portion of the public street commonly known as Western Avenue. Is there a motion to open the public hearing? Motion by Alderman Marks. Is there a second? Second. Alderman Clements makes the second. All in favor of opening the public hearing on this topic, please say aye.
Aye.
The public meeting is open, and we invite anyone present this evening to make any comments or ask any questions regarding this matter. Seeing none, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing. So moved. Alderman Marks makes that motion to close.
Second.
Alderman Bruno makes the second to close the public hearing. All in favor of closing the public hearing, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you very much. Item 3B, as in boy, is to proclaim June 7, 2019 as Gun Violence Awareness Day in the city of Geneva. We have some very special guests with us this evening, and I have a proclamation that I'd like to read for consideration by the council, if I may. Whereas every day 100 Americans are killed by gun violence, and on an average there are nearly 13,000 gun homicides every year, and whereas Americans are 25 times more likely to be killed with guns than people in other high-income countries, and whereas protecting public safety in the communities they serve is the mayor's and council's highest responsibility, and whereas support for the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens goes hand in hand with keeping guns away from people with dangerous histories, and whereas mayors and councils and law enforcement officers know their communities best, are the most familiar with local criminal activity and how to address it, and are best positioned to understand how to keep their citizens safe. And whereas in January 2013, Hadia Pendleton, whom I should add, today is her birthday, a teenager who marched in President Barack Obama's second inaugural parade and was tragically shot and killed just weeks later near her home in Chicago, Illinois, should now be celebrating her 22nd birthday. And whereas to help honor Hadia and the 100 Americans whose lives are cut short and the countless survivors who are injured by shootings every day, a national coalition of organizations has designated June 7, 2019, the first Friday in June, as the 5th National Gun Violence Awareness Day. And whereas anyone can join the campaign by pledging to wear orange on June 7th, the first Friday in June in 2019, and help raise awareness about gun violence, and whereas by wearing orange on June 7, 2019, Americans will raise awareness about gun violence and honor the lives of gun violence victims and survivors. Whereas we renew our commitment to reduce gun violence and pledge to do all we can to keep firearms out of the wrong hands, and encourage responsible gun ownership to help keep our children safe. Now therefore, be it resolved that I, Kevin Burns, Mayor of the City of Geneva, do hereby proclaim Friday, June 7, 2019, to be National Gun Violence Awareness Day in the City of Geneva, and I encourage all citizens to support the community's efforts to prevent the tragic effects of gun violence and to honor and value human lives. Is there a motion to so proclaim?
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Clements, seconded by Alderman Burkhart. All in favor of the proclamation, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? And our special guests, welcome. And we have actually additional special guests, because who are these two young folks right here? Yeah, maybe Alderman Kilberg would like to. Those are Alderman Kilberg's grandkids, ladies and gentlemen. He promised them dinner anywhere after the meeting tonight.
I think ice cream would go
Ice
further.
cream.
Been talk of that.
Well, this is Ben and Anna, and they're with my daughter-in-law Stacy.
Hi, guys. Welcome.
Thank you. We just wanted to thank you, Mayor Burns, and members of the City Council on behalf of Moms Demand Action, as well as our student partners at March for Our Lives Geneva, who unfortunately couldn't come tonight because it is finals week. And as dedicated as they are also very dedicated to their studies. But we wanted to thank you for recognizing Wear Orange Day on June 7th, 2019, this year. We, along with March for Our Lives, are all dedicated to honoring the 100 lives lost every day to gun violence through our actions, and hope that you will wear orange on June 7th. Encourage your family and friends to wear orange June 7th and this weekend. There will be many opportunities to participate in activities to honor those lives that are lost and wear orange, especially in honor of Hadia Pendleton. Thank you.
Thank you very much. May I present to you the proclamation? Thank you. Hey, that was more than a sentence. Come on up here. Is this in your way, Stacy?
Thank you.
Oh, what happened here? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know the Chronicle was still publishing, I apologize. Oh, come on. Just got Susan in the room. Folks, it should also be noted, and I know that our friends at Moms Demand Action knows this as well. Our friends in the city of Batavia and the city of St. Charles passed a virtually identical proclamation last week. So we are united in this regard, and it makes certainly me feel good, and hopefully all of you as well. So thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, item number 3C is to proclaim June 2019 as Pride Month in the city of Geneva. And if you wouldn't object, I'd like to read the proclamation. Celebrating Pride Month in the city of Geneva, whereas the city of Geneva recognizes and proclaims the month of June 2019 as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer LGBTQ Pride Month, and whereas all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights, LGBTQ individuals have had immeasurable impact to the cultural, civic, and economic success of our country, and whereas the City of Geneva is committed to supporting visibility, dignity, and equality for LGBTQ people in their diverse community, in our diverse community, and whereas while society at large increasingly supports LGBTQ equality, it is essential to acknowledge that the need for education and awareness remains vital to end discrimination and prejudice. And whereas this nation was founded on the principle that every individual has infinite dignity and worth, and the City of Geneva calls upon the people of this municipality to embrace this principle and work to eliminate prejudice everywhere and anywhere it exists. And whereas celebrating Pride Month influences awareness and provides support and advocacy for Geneva's LGBTQ community, and is an opportunity to take action and engage dialogue to strengthen alliances, build acceptance, and advance equal rights. Now therefore be it resolved that Geneva, Illinois hereby proclaims the month of June 2019 as Pride Month in support of the LGBT community and recognizes all LGBTQ residents whose influential and lasting contributions to our neighborhoods makes Geneva, Illinois a vibrant community in which to live, work, and visit. Do I have a proclamation, or excuse me, a motion to so proclaim? So moved. Alderman McGowan, and then seconded, I believe, by Alderman Clements. Questions or comments? All in favor of the proclamation, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Wonderful. Thank you very much. Moving on, folks, to item 3D as in David is a presentation by my friend Scott Corbin of the Jank Music Scholarship Program. Scott, welcome, man. You should all remember this gentleman from last year. Interesting sidebar, after his presentation tonight, you are off to O'Hare Airport to grab a flight to Los Angeles.
Yes,
We are doing some recording.
I am. Thank you. Yes. And I appreciate the cup of coffee. That's definitely going to help.
Yes, it's good stuff. We stole
you.
it from the library. Let's-
Well, it's very good coffee. Thank you all for having me again this evening. It's great to see all of you again. It's amazing how fast a year flies by, but when I see you all, it reminds me of being here last year. So thank you. It's nice to see a lot of familiar faces. And I'm so sorry I have to leave right afterwards to catch my flight. Otherwise, I would like to spend a few minutes catching up and seeing you all. But I do apologize in advance. So thank you so much for that. And so good evening, council members. Thank you for the opportunity to address you today sincerely. I'm here to share important news regarding our community at large and local youth in particular. This pertains to the expanding of the Tri-Cities reputation as a top family destination to an international audience, as well as establishing the Tri-Cities as a global tech hub. After years of consideration, it is my distinct pleasure and honor to share that we have been granted the opportunity to enter in a cultural cooperation with the municipality of Saint-Malo, France, one of the most prestigious, elegant, and historically rich places on the planet. The basis of this cultural cooperation and the link between both communities is the Tri-Cities Jank Ambassador Global Citizen Exchange Initiative and the development of a live listening technology called Live 2020. This will improve the sonic quality and health impact of the live listening experience for audiences around the world. And the Jank Guitar Store has been proudly involved in the development of this technology, which began in 1998 and will officially launch to the public in December 2020. Internships and extracurricular tech learning opportunities for students in St. Malo and the Tri-Cities will become available through Live 2020. In addition, the Tri-Cities Jank Ambassador Program is expanding in 2020 to include ambassadors from St. Malo and the Tri-Cities in alternating years. The Jank Guitar Store held a ceremony on March 23rd of this year in Paris, France, with the official cooperation and support from the City of Paris to celebrate the winner of the Road Song Challenge Europe and announce the expansion of the Tri-Cities Jank Ambassadorship and Global Citizen Program to France. There was an official announcement through major media outlets that designates the Tri-Cities and St. Malo as the two main centers of development for Live 2020 and the Tri-Cities Jank Ambassador Global Citizen Program. In addition to the economic benefits of global recognition, job creation, and skilled tech learning opportunities for students, local youth selected each year to be the Tri-Cities Jank Ambassador will be given the opportunity to visit St. Malo for American ambassadors or the Tri-Cities for French ambassadors as part of the Global Citizen Initiative sponsored by the Jank Guitar Store. The Global Citizen trip to St. Malo was originally slated to begin in year 2 of the Tri-Cities Jank Ambassadorship. Out of respect for some familial concerns about the safety of international travel, the trip was ultimately postponed to year 3. Safety and comfort are always our top priorities, and we consider them absolute prerequisites for a positive, enjoyable, and impactful travel experience. In March of this year, the third annual Tri-City Genk Ambassador embarked on the first ever global citizen trip to St. Malo, France. The program was a huge success. The ambassador met with the delegate of international relations in the European Union to learn about government. She met with the delegate of education to learn about the school system. She met also with the delegates of cultural affairs and history to learn about the incredible, rich 2,000-year-old history of St. Malo. She also met with the youth ambassadors of St. Malo and attended an international theater festival just for students. While this was the first trip abroad, this ambassadorship will support student achievements in art, leadership, and technology is now entering its fourth year. In year one, the ambassadorship was launched in St. Charles and was awarded to George Messenger. In year two, the ambassadorship expanded to the Tri-Cities. And the year three is Madeline Schuster, our current ambassador, who just returned from the first inaugural trip to St. Malo as a global citizen. Year four will begin on June 12th. The next Tri-Cities Genk ambassador will be announced in a ceremony 6 p.m. June 12th in Lincoln Park in St. Charles. And we invite all of you to attend and celebrate the outstanding students who are nominated for this year's ambassadorship and participate in the tradition of naming the next ambassador who will represent the Tri-Cities home and abroad. And if anybody has any questions, I assume we're going to answer them.
Questions or comments for Mr. Corbin? Anyone at all? Last year's event was lovely.
Thank you very much.
My first time in St. Charles. Nice place. And Scott, you and I had a chance to visit and talk about the experience this young ambassador had
Yes.
in visiting Europe and meeting all these dignitaries. It's extraordinary.
It's extraordinary. St. Malo is part of a Tri-Cities community as well, which is a nice coincidence.
It
So
is.
it's a family community. It's rich in history like we are here in America and with our Tri-Cities in America. And so there's a lot of things that we share. So it was interesting because when the ambassador, she's currently a Batavia High School student, when she went to the school to have a high school exchange there, she got asked a lot of questions about our community, of course. And what's interesting is how similar we are, despite there being different language, different culture, different part of the planet. There's so many similarities. So it was really fascinating actually to see that through the perspective of a high school student.
Sure.
To hear all of that back afterwards. So it's a pretty exciting time for the youth to have certain opportunities. And this was one of those platforms we wanted to create because I grew up here in the Tri-Cities, and we just wanted to provide yet another great platform, as there are many in this community, for the youth. So it's great, and thank you for taking time. We look forward to seeing you at the ceremony,
Oh,
of course.
absolutely,
Really
absolutely.
appreciate it.
So share with us just a little bit about your background. I'm going to try to keep you here so you miss your flight.
Sure, no problem. Actually, I'm a studio musician. I grew up here, but a studio musician, that means that I play guitar in recording studios for recording projects. Typically, if there's a music group, there's already a guitar player that's part of that band. But when there's no guitar player, because it's usually a singer that's making an album or doing a few songs, and they need a little bit of guitar, they call in somebody like myself to do the guitar recording in the studio. Since I grew up here a few years ago, I was trying to make my home base back in the Tri-Cities, and we had seen that there was a space open that used to be my dad's guitar store when I was a child in St. Charles. And so we had to get the space, of course. So we had that for a few years. Unfortunately, we went to do renovations, found asbestos, and that's a no-go zone for us, so we had to leave. We're trying to work with the city of St. Charles to find our next location, but we also are opening currently our store in St. Malo, France as well, too, at the moment.
Wow.
So there's a lot that I would like to give back to the community. So I've assembled a team. That's the Genk Guitar Store. And even though a lot of those representatives are from not only different parts of the United States, but abroad, internationally, they understand how much the Tri-Cities means to me. I've always communicated that to them, and they've worked really hard to value that and then help as much as they could. So we have a lot of people working from outside so we can give more on the inside, kind of a thing.
Would it be improper to ask you what sort of artists have you worked with, or whom have you worked with?
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about that.
BTS?
Who?
What? Who? The greatest thing out of Korea, man.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it's like-
K-pop, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
K-pop, yeah. They don't have guitars, do they?
Well, well, it would be an honor. If, I've actually never been out that way in the world, but no, it's my pleasure to talk about that. It's actually very similar in a way. I was actually studying in Orlando when I was about 18, and I got a great opportunity. Somebody called me to a recording studio to work for an engineer and producer who works with a lot of the boy bands, or worked with a lot of the boy bands at the time. It was the early 2000s. So this is where Backstreet Boys and NSYNC, their management and record label, had their studio complex in Orlando. So I started getting work there as playing pop guitar for a lot of the boy band music.
Really?
And so that's how I got my start, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's not too far off from BT.
No, you know, Alderman Kilberg actually toured with Backstreet Boys. Anyone else on the dais for Mr. Corbin? Alderman Clements.
I thank you very much for the presentation. Simple question. What time is your event on the 12th?
Hey, thank you so much for asking. 6 o'clock, 6 p.m. We always have it the same date, so it's always June 12. So the day of the week is going to change every year, but it's always the 12th of June, and 6 o'clock is usually the time that we schedule.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone? Oh, Alderman Burghardt.
You mentioned this live music technology that you've been developing for a long time. Can you tell us a bit more?
Absolutely.
About
So it's a technology that helps with hearing because when you go to concerts, it's usually very dangerous for your hearing level, but also the sound is sometimes poor quality. So to have something that's really consistent in terms of great sound, but also protection for your ears so you could actually control the volume yourself, that's something we've been developing since 1998. And so we're excited because it's actually intended for the big concert halls so that when you go to a concert, it's a little bit better for you in terms of an experience, and it's a little bit better in terms of your health as well too.
Is it something you wear or?
It's actually something that works with your phone and headphones.
Good.
Yeah.
All right, thank
Wow,
you.
that's pretty
For asking.
We could use those to the Plan Commission. We could.
Actually, small venues are also encouraged to use them. A lot of times people get benefits just from small intimate
Sure.
concerts or speeches, conferences, especially lecture halls. So absolutely, yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, thank you for the
Mr.
great
Corbin,
questions.
good to see you again.
It's great to see all of you again.
Travel safe?
I really appreciate that, and I look hopefully be back real soon to see you all again. Enjoy the spring. Actually, I'm so jealous because this is my favorite time of year to be here. So I'll be back on June 12th, but
Sounds good.
you guys hold tight for me, and thank you for your time tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you. BTS has no guitars. What? Benjamin, do you know who BTS is?
No.
You're out of order. Item 3E, folks, is to consider the mayor's appointment of Fire Chief Michael Antonori as the alternate board member on the Tri-City Ambulance Board. Is there a motion? So moved. Alderman Marks makes the motion.
Second.
Alderman Burkhart makes the second. Any questions or comments? All in favor of the appointment, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you very much. And item 3F, folks, the Speed Control Policy Task Force recommendations. Madam Chairman, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you very much.
Good to see you.
Thank you. Okay, my name is Paula Kraft, and I was the chair of the Speed Control Policy Task Force. We have several of our members here this evening, so I'm glad that they were able to make it. It's been a whirlwind 10 weeks, and tonight you received this report, and I'm just going to walk you through some highlights of what we did and why. We started with the charge of taking a look at the 1996 policy. We did agree that it was time for an update, and we also strove to create something, a document that was more user-friendly and transparent to the community.
I've got it, sorry, my fault.
We
Excuse me.
wanted the community to understand what policies are in place and what their role as citizens are, particularly when it comes to speeding complaints, stop sign requests, and things like that. So the policy, which is at the back of this document, is a little shorter, I believe, than the original, but also has some really good charts and graphics to help the community understand, because we do feel it's important for this to be publicly accessible. We went a little bit further than the original charge, though, because we really wanted to hear from the community and get a sense of what they felt about the issues. And I have to really commend the task force members who put in a lot of time, legwork and research to get to this point, because it started with members reviewing what was happening in their own wards. We had 2 reps from each ward. A lot of people literally walked their wards, others drove. They talked to neighbors and acquaintances. We also took a look at other communities' speed control and pedestrian policies, particularly communities that were very similar to Geneva. We reviewed the pedestrian accident data from the Geneva Police Department. We reviewed police tools and practices related to traffic laws. We created an email, 30 miles per hour at geneva.il.us, so that we could get some feedback. As we started to see this sort of synergy in the community, we thought it might be a good idea to have a community-wide survey, and with the assistance of the city staff, got that survey out there, which was very well promoted, and we had more than 500 members of the community respond to this survey. You do have the results in this packet. There are extensive comments. So I do encourage you to take a look at that, because it really became clear that speeding and pedestrian safety are really big issues in this community. And so that led us to make some general recommendations. We do recognize that some of these may be longer in term, they may require a financial commitment, but we felt that we should make these recommendations known so that you can consider them during your annual budget process and implement these if or when feasible and appropriate. So we prioritize based a lot on the community feedback in particular. And so with the recommendations, which are on page 6 in the report, there's a little table that explains some of the key areas. So one of them were the park and school zones. And we were asking to evaluate these zones for appropriate signage and ensure crosswalks are well-maintained and clearly designated. This was one of the top 2 most concerning areas from the community online survey. 3rd Street, complete an engineering study or update the existing study from Route 31 to State Street to ensure smooth vehicular movement and enhance pedestrian safety. We do know that the rail project is coming in, so this is probably further down the road, but again, there were so many concerns and issues regarding 3rd Street, we felt it was important to make note of that. And there was also a lot of discussion about posting cross-traffic does not stop signs at all intersections crossing 3rd Street, since again, just considerable commentary about the safety of 3rd Street for both motorists and pedestrians. For Fargo Boulevard, we recommended conducting an engineering study to evaluate changing the classification from a collector street to a residential street and to evaluate the speed limit on Fargo. Anderson Boulevard and East Side Drive, we recommend continued police presence and enforcement action. Since I drive down East Side Drive daily, I do see a good police presence there, and I do believe that it contributes greatly to the safety of that area. Woodward/Templar Park, post a no left turn sign onto Woodward to encourage use of Dodson to get to East Side Drive from Templar Park. It's wonderful to see all of the soccer tournaments and activities there, but it has created some issues that we feel need to be resolved. And then finally, we are recommending to the city to have some type of traffic control committee, an ongoing group that would work with the police in addressing traffic complaints, but also create and promote an education campaign that would include a specific web page on the city site dedicated to traffic and pedestrian safety, public service announcements, and general education. We really feel that this could be a really valuable way to keep people in the loop, give them an easy way to address any concerns that they have, and to know what's going on. So I would like to thank you for this opportunity to serve. I would really like to thank the members of the task force for the time and energy that they put into this process, and the city staff, the city administrator, the intern, the police and public works. It was really fabulous to have them available to us as resources. They were extremely helpful, and we appreciate that extra time that they put in for us. So that is our report in a nutshell, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Questions or comments for the chair? Alderman Clements?
Thank you. Thank you guys so much for taking on this task. I know how much of a commitment it is to have to go to these meetings and listen to people and get all this input and try to put it all together. I'm curious, you've had a great response rate, it sounds like, to the survey. Did you have a lot of input also coming in on the email address that you set up? Were people coming to the meetings to watch or speak at the meetings? Was that also pretty?
Yeah, I think Stephanie can address that more specifically.
So as far as the email, we only got about 5, and I think that's probably because that was set up around the same time the survey went out, so people took the survey as opposed to send the email. And then as far as meetings go, we had one meeting, there was probably 4 or 5 residents, and then a couple other meetings, we've had 1 or 2. So periodically, we had various folks show up to express their concerns.
Thank you.
It also went very viral. There was a lot of discussion on social media, and many of us, if we did have Facebook accounts, for instance, we let our friends and acquaintances know this is going on, and I think all of us found that people were more than happy to share their concerns.
Yeah. Would you say that, does this encompass everything you wanted to see, or were there things that were kind of want to get on here, but maybe we just can't make it work, or it's too much to present to us, or I guess I'm asking, were there things that you would have liked to have seen get put on here that didn't quite make it?
I think in the end, we were happy with it. There was some discussion. We actually thought maybe we were asking for a little bit too much. And my feeling was, though, that some of the people that wanted to serve on the task force had some very clear, very strong feelings about traffic and pedestrian safety issues in the community, and I felt like that shouldn't get lost, especially when we did the online survey and saw that it wasn't just one person who was saying, I think this is a problem. There were multiple people throughout, and again, when you look at the comments, and I've seen a lot of surveys in my life, but I've never seen one that had so many comments, and people really went into great detail. But it was very helpful for us, because then we realized we are actually representing a community concern, and we felt it was really important to at least take the top 5 or so and really turn that back to you to let you know this is something that the community is talking about.
Okay. Well, again, thank you all very much. I'm looking forward to going through all of this and looking at all of it. And just from what it looks like here, some of this stuff looks really great. So thank you.
Anyone else on the dais? Alderman Kilberg.
Paula, thank you for your service, and you might want to introduce your committee, because these people gave up a lot of their time to serve, and maybe a few of them might have a comment or two that they'd like to share.
Why don't you come on up and introduce yourselves? That'd be great.
I am Amy Spring, and I'm from Ward 2.
My name is Tim Keski from Ward 3, and I enjoyed taking part in the task force. A little bit of fun for me, so.
A little bit? What was a little?
Hi, I'm Betty Collins, Ward 3. It was a very good learning experience to find out that everybody in town kind of thinks the same way. I'm not sure how that works, but.
Lorraine Oxner, Ward 1.
Samantha Molesky, Ward 5. And just to add to your comment, Mike, I think that, or question, it was clear from talking to the people in the neighborhood that this is a very passionate issue for a lot of people. I've talked to neighbors about other issues, and it's almost like you're dragging a conversation out of someone about something that you're interested in, and there was no hesitation from anyone, whether I was at a baseball game, a basketball game, talking to my neighbors who are retired. Everybody had a sense of something that they saw, who'd lived here for a long time, that they felt was a safety issue or a concern, and so it felt good to try to pass those concerns on to everyone else. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mary Beth Guzzo, Ward 4. And being an avid social media person, I spent a lot of my time on Facebook in what's happening in Geneva, defending the Geneva Police Department and the work that they do. They don't understand our staffing and the challenges that we have, that we're not out just to grab a buck, but that safety is our primary goal, and that's what we did in this task force.
Thank you.
Good evening, Tim Moran, First Ward. Thank you for your consideration.
Thanks, Tim.
I'll
Yes.
just note, Randall Newkirk, Joseph Heger, and Rory McCann were also on the task force.
May I ask a general question of the task force, and whoever wishes to respond, feel free to do so? What's the one thing you learned that you did not know prior to serving? Other than Public Works is a chilly building sometimes.
Comment, and I don't want to be controversial, but I wasn't aware of how much work the police department does and how much demands that they have on their time. It really brought a new perspective to me, because you kind of have this mentality of how things are done, and they work hard and they need a lot of help, and so if that information can be passed on to anyone, and that can help them out in any way. That was one of the number one things.
Officer, yes?
Uh,
You should discuss, you are a police officer.
I am a police officer.
Beautiful.
City of Berwyn, yes, I am.
You got a heck of a commute, man.
Yes. So I lived in Lombard, and then I was looking for a great town, and I found Geneva, so.
Wow.
Here I am. But yeah, I'd also like to piggyback off that, because I didn't realize as well what the police department does, because we don't do traffic stuff where I'm from. I mean, the studies and stuff are from engineers, and actually what we found out was the city used to have its own traffic safety officer, and because of budgetary issues, they had to cut that position. And so then the police department had to take over, and now they're the ones who have to do a preliminary study, and then if, based off their statistical data, they want to move forward with a traffic engineering study, then that's how it is. But absolutely, the police department does a lot. They do a lot more as far as statistical stuff goes compared to where I'm from. So I'd also like to second Samantha's comments, yes.
Is it fair to say that you can drive as fast as you want in Berwyn?
Oh, no. Absolutely not.
I'm
Absolutely
just
not.
teasing.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else, please? Alderman, oh, yes, Ms. Guzzo.
Yeah, I think we learned just about the staffing with the police department, that everybody thinks this town is peppered with police, and obviously we're not staffed that way, and that we're also really, really nice. And we give a lot of warnings, and we don't give a lot of tickets. And I think what we heard partially, is that we'd like stronger enforcement, because that's the way you're really going to start to change behavior.
Thank you. Alderman Berger?
Yeah, thank you for your service, and I want to thank Alderman Clements for getting this task force going with some concerns he had. And I think it's so great to have 11 members of the public kind of brought in and engaged, and I hope all of you will continue to look for opportunities to serve. My question is, if any of you had like a magic wand and could do any of these things tomorrow, which one might you do? Is there anyone that feels like, oh, that's like a one that could really make a difference?
Well, I feel like I started this whole thing. So, Fargo Boulevard. I said back, was it in February when the task force was originally created? Personally, I feel, and I know a lot of others feel the same way, that really is a residential street. I know right now its classification as a collector street, and I guess my biggest question going in was how, if there's a street that's residential, that kind of classifies as residential, and a collector street, which one trumps the other? But again, our recommendation was, to do an engineering study to see if that classification could possibly change, because there are many factors that play into the fact that, I do see it as a residential street. So that would be my vote.
Okay.
To just make sure it's a safer area for everyone, really, not just neighborhood residents, but that street is used so frequently for people passing through on their bicycles, pedestrians going from different parks and areas, and just people driving through, people coming to visit, that the people that live there. It's sometimes hard to pull into driveways and things like that. So it doesn't really impact just the people that live in that neighborhood, but really the community. So I'd like to see that change.
Anybody else? Given a magic wand, you could choose one of these things that you feel like make it the most difference? Go ahead.
My vote would be for overall look at school zones, park zones. That's just my opinion, because the city does a pretty good job at designating a lot of the school zones, but I think we're lacking a little bit in park zones. We do have one designation, which is off of Western. There are several other parks that are on busier streets, and the one that comes to mind is in my ward off of Geneva Drive. We have the two parks there, and we have Geneva Drive kind of goes down a hill, I guess, so to speak, from Kirk Road to East Side Drive. Anyways, designation of park zones and reducing speed, just where children are. I think that would make a big difference, because I think we can all agree the safety of kids and parents are paramount when it comes to that. So, but that would be my vote. And I realize that the city has like over 20 different parks. I would just ask for them to obviously look at the busier streets first versus slower streets. That's it. That would be my vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
A comment to your question. One thing I'd like to see is this conversation to continue, because we got so much feedback from the community, and we realized that there were some areas that needed attention. And we also looked at what other cities were doing, and most other cities, I don't think we found a single one that didn't have some type of standing transportation pedestrian committee that actively talks about ongoing issues that people have. And I know this was something that Stephanie was a tremendous resource. She told us things that have been done in the past, but it seems like Geneva maybe could emulate what other cities are doing and being more proactive. There's a lot of national campaigns, one called Vision Zero, where there's kind of a changing mentality where here you look at the statistics and you say, oh, this is where something bad has happened, a pedestrian car conflict, and instead of that, you're saying there should never be a pedestrian car conflict, and looking at new ways to look at perceived problem areas. If, a lot of the comments we had were from parents pushing strollers and areas of difficult visibility where you weren't sure where you could safely cross, and there's some of these newer programs that are kind of spreading across the country. So if we could keep this conversation going, some type of committee where people could engage in these types of conversations and maybe implement some of these things here.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because I was going to ask, I know Alderman Ruby always talk about doing a public awareness campaign that can be pretty inexpensive in a lot of ways, and whether you think those do work, but it sounds like you've seen some other cities that have latched onto that sort of thing. And I think also we do have a tendency to say, well, we seem pretty safe. Like, we look at the data, and we're fortunate that we haven't had many serious, accidents, but some of it's, you don't hear, the parent, it's a near miss, or they catch the child before something bad happens, or the.
Well, and a lot of communities have something called a near miss button, or a way to report an area where you've almost gotten hit, and I think that would actually be somewhat, just as valuable as the data where there are true calls to police where there has been a pedestrian car conflict. To have a way, and I know we're not as big as some of these other cities, and that's another job for somebody else to have to do, of people that are already tasked with doing a lot. But a lot of cities do that, where they keep track. You can call and say, hey, I was almost run over, and if you look over a several-year period and say there's an area here where there's a repeat concern of near misses, I think that would be something that would be really helpful.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome. Anyone else on the dais? Thank you all very, very much. We appreciate it.
Yes, thanks.
And if you need to sneak out, we totally understand. And if on your way out, if you could share with Officer Duncan the route you're going to take so we can keep an eye on you, that'd be awesome. Ladies and gentlemen of the council, do we have a motion to accept the report as presented by the task force? Alderman Swanson makes the motion.
Second.
Alderman Burkhart makes the second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Great.
Can I ask, is it out of order? Where do we go next with this?
While no action is being taken tonight other than accepting the report, the entire report will be analyzed by professional staff, and then those areas that are recommended will be incorporated into the budget process for consideration, whether it be expenditures, investments, seeking of grants, collaboration with other government bodies, et cetera.
And in terms of if we decide we'd like to have some kind of ongoing task force?
We can host this, at one of our policy discussions, we can certainly address that, and that's exactly what Stephanie talked about earlier today.
Very good.
So, yeah.
Good. Thank you.
It would be probably a 200-member task force. That would
And we have to recruit
Yes,
20 each?
We'll just tell Miranda to get on the phone and start calling people.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 4, folks, amendments to the agenda. Are there any amendments this evening? Item 5 is the omnibus agenda. All items marked with an asterisk are considered to be routine and can be considered with one motion. Is there such a motion? So moved. Alderman Marks makes the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Alderman Bruno makes the second. Mr. Clerk, please take the roll.
Bruno.
Aye.
Burkhart.
Aye.
Clements.
Aye.
Ruby.
Aye.
Caven.
Aye.
Gilbert.
Aye.
Maladra.
Aye.
Marks.
Aye.
McGowan.
Aye.
Swanson.
Aye.
Item 5 passes unanimously. We skip to item number 10, item number 9, consider approval of ordinance number 2019-99, vacating a portion of the public street commonly known as Western Avenue. This requires, as noted on the agenda, 8 affirmative votes. Mrs. Dawkins, a brief summary?
Sure. On May 6th, the City Council approved the Greenhouse Point subdivision located on the east side of Western Avenue at Country Squire Drive. As part of the subdivision, the developer requested that the city vacate a 283-square-foot portion of Western Avenue right-of-way. The plat of vacation was included as a condition of approval for the Greenhouse Point subdivision. Staff has determined that this land is not required for the utility of the Western Avenue right-of-way, and the developer has agreed to purchase this land from the city in the amount of $1,786.62, and then the public hearing you had earlier this evening was for this same item. And it does require 8 affirmative votes of the city council, not including the mayor.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Marks,
Second.
seconded by Alderman Bruno. Additional questions or comments regarding this matter? Alderman McGowan?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Stephanie, does the 1786, does that money go just to the general fund, or is there something special?
So we have a
It goes to-
policy currently that says that when we sell any of our property, real property, it goes into our capital equipment fund.
Oh, that's right, okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Anyone else? Mr. Clerk, whenever you find it of interest or desire, please take the roll.
Make it sound so interesting. Bruno.
Aye.
Burkhart.
Aye.
Clements.
Aye.
Ruby.
Aye.
Caven.
Aye.
Kilberg.
Aye.
Maladra.
Aye.
Marks.
Aye.
McGowan.
Aye.
Swanson.
Aye. Item 9A passes with 10 affirmative votes, 0 nay votes, 0 absent. The motion passes. Item 10, municipal bills for payment. We kindly ask our city clerk to read the bills as presented in their aggregate.
Total bills for payment, $2,242,760.31.
Mayor, I move that we approve and pay the bills as read. The individual items that add up to that amount can be found in tonight's packet on the city website.
Alderman Bruno makes the motion to pay the bills as presented, which are also available in the packet and on the city's website. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Ruby. Questions or comments regarding the bills? Mr. Clerk, whenever you're available.
Bruno.
Aye.
Burkhart.
Aye.
Clements.
Aye.
Ruby.
Aye.
Caven.
Aye.
Kilberg.
Aye.
Maladra.
Aye.
Marks.
Aye.
McGowan.
Aye.
Swanson.
Aye. Item 10 passes with 10 affirmative votes, 0 nay votes, and 0 absent, and the motion passes. According to my scorecard, folks, we are at new business. We will defer to our friends in the audience. Any new business by anyone, from anyone, regarding anything? Yes, Mrs. Ross. Good evening.
Madeline Roth. I own a building at 610 South First Street, and it backs up to the Union Pacific Railroad, where they're doing their third rail project. And I just want to go on record publicly that I have not received any funds from Metra for this project, or from the state of Illinois, or for my parking lot. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone from the dais? If not, I'm going to test you. A motion to adjourn would be in order.
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Marks. All in favor of adjourning? Well done. No second. Please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Great. We're going to jump into the committee of the whole meeting without objection. That was just done for you, by the way. The committee of the whole meeting is called to order. Let the record show that all the aldermen are present. And we have item 2, approve regular committee of the whole minutes from May the 28th, 2019. Is there a motion? Motion by McGowan.
Second.
Seconded by Bruno. Questions or comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The meeting minutes are approved unanimously. Item 3A is to recommend approval of special event application for the Concours d'Elegance, August 25, 2019. I'll entertain a motion
So moved.
Motion by Bruno. Seconded by Kilberg, who is showing cars this year. And we have our special guests. 15 years. 15 years. Would you like to share anything new about this year?
I can tell you the features.
That'd be awesome, man. Come on up. Do you have a minivan section this year? I'll take that as a no.
We're hoping that it's one the mayor picks out, the minivan.
Probably.
We have 4 special features this year. The first one is Stutz. Stutz was a car that was manufactured in the United States for a long time. The most famous model they had was the Stutz Bearcat. You probably have all heard of that. They're back in the teen years. Sidney Allard was an English car builder. He was a very prolific sports car builder in the late 40s and early 50s, and that kind of ties in with one of our other features, which is the 75th anniversary of the Sports Car Club of America. Sidney Allard's cars were real popular in the beginnings of road racing in that era right after World War II, and they're celebrating their 75th anniversary with us this year. Fin-tailed cars. We've got an unusual feature this year. The manufacturers in the late 40s, we really think it started in 1948 and it went through 1962. There was a Cadillac in 1948 that had the beginnings of small fins, and they just got almost more outrageous every year until 1962 when they stopped, and we have some really interesting cars in that group. And then the Bentley Motor Car Company is 100 years old this year. They've been manufacturing, that's a pretty long time for an English car manufacturer, and they're still there. So we have some very interesting Bentleys in this show. We also like to thank you all again for 15 years of great cooperation and support for our event. We couldn't have done it without you.
It's a beautiful event.
Thank you.
It's a beautiful event. And it so happens that all the council drive Bentleys.
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
And I paid for it, yeah. Courtesy of Batavia.
I'm running for the council then, if that's the case.
That's right. Any
Thank
questions
you.
or comments? Yes, Alderman Burkhart.
My dad has been restoring a 1957 Chevy.
Is he? Yeah.
Since I was about
That-
10
that
years
would be a
old.
great- That has some fins on it. That'd be a great addition to our Fintail group. We do have a real nice.
He tried to teach me to drive stick in the JCPenney parking lot in his baby, and that lasted about 10 minutes. So, but it was my getaway car for my wedding. So I might have to get my dad up from Springfield to go this year because he would love
Bring
to
him
see all
down to
those.
see the.
Will do.
Yeah.
Good, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Item 3B, folks, is to recommend draft resolution number 2019-60, authorizing execution of an agreement with Credit Management Control Incorporated to collect delinquent balances of utility bills, fines, and fees. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Ruby, seconded by Alderman Marks. Several questions were asked and answers provided earlier today and over the weekend. Are there any additional questions tonight? Oh, Stephanie, do you want to provide a summary?
That's okay. Back in February, an RFP was issued for a collection agency to assist with the collection of delinquent balances from utility bills, fines, and fees. The city uses a collection agency for debt which staff is unable to collect through normal processes. 4 collection agencies responded with fees ranging from 19 to 35%. Credit Management Control responded with the lowest fee of 19% and the most convenient hours of operation for the debtors to make payment. The vendor will work with the Illinois Comptroller Local Debt Recovery Program, which you may remember we've just started using that, so we try to use that first and foremost. Upon review, staff believes that CMC is a reputable agency capable of serving the city's delinquent balances. Again, we try every effort we can before we turn over any debt to a collection agency, but we get to a point where we have no forward address, no phone numbers or anything, and they have means which they can get some information. Rita Cruz has been sitting here patiently all evening, so she's here to answer any questions you might have, and also Ben McCready.
Questions or comments, ladies and gentlemen? patience paid off, Rita. We have a motion? We have a second? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? The item passes unanimously. New business, ladies and gentlemen. Again, anyone from the audience, any comments, questions for the Committee of the Whole? Any information from the Committee of the Whole? Let's see if we can do it twice in a row. I will certainly entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Bruno makes the motion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? We are adjourned, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much.